sharpened the Kershaw Leak, designed by Ken Onion, a friend of ours that's designed a few of our sharpeners himself, and we thought it'd be a great knife to use for this test. We sharpened using a specific technique, so we wanted to try to control some things here. So what I did is I just did the push technique. If you haven't seen our old video where we compared sharpening techniques, push versus pull, go back and watch that one. You can see how that impacts the edge created. We decided to just go with a push technique where I push into the edge to try to recreate almost that factory profile. Another control we put in place was the amount of time I spent on each abrasive. So to keep that consistent, I didn't spend a whole lot of time on any particular one. I tried to keep it even on every one. I'll get into the details of what that looks like. Just know the time spent on each abrasive was about the same time all the way through. All right, guys, so what we're looking at here is the factory edge on the leaks as we receive them. And as you can see, they're pretty consistent edges. Really good straight from the factory. Sometimes we see some weird stuff, but this is a great looking knife. The striation pattern is really consistent on this one. This one you can kind of see a little bit of burr that kind of got left on, just kind of hanging on there. And it's something you'd never see to the naked eye, but under magnification, that kind of thing shows up. We wanted to give you that as a reference as we move through the abrasive sets. To start out, we're gonna look at the leak sharpened on the original Precision Adjust. That's a 320 grit that moves into a 600 grit and then finished on a fine ceramic. The leak was sharpened at 20 degrees, which was about what the original factory profile was, so I didn't have to do too much material removal. And it matches up really well as far as reveal goes along that bevel edge. It's a softer steel, which was intentional. I didn't want to spend a whole lot of time sharpening any super steels, so that made it go quicker and I was able to be a little more consistent in the time spent on each abrasive. Let's look at the 320 grit. So the 320 grit, you can see a lot deeper pitting going on from that aggressive 320 grit abrasive. It's not anything too severe, but it would reprofile decently fast on most steels. I like it. It looks even, about what I expected to see under magnification. Now let's take a look at the 600 grit. You can see a lot of the deep pitting has been removed with the 600 grit, and you're starting to get a smooth finish. A little better than what I would say it was from factory. It's smoother than it was from factory. And normally I could probably just jump to the 600 grit and skip that 320, but we wanted to go through the full progression. But on a factory blade, you could start here. You can see a little bit of burr left over on the one side that will probably be knocked off with the ceramic in the next step. All right, let's wrap up on the ceramic for the original Precision Adjust. This is what the result is after hitting that same side of the knife with the ceramic. You can see it's a lot smoother, but there is still some minor striations left in there. To the naked eye, you can't really see these that well. Mostly it's just a mere polish on the knife. You do have some burr left over, and that's probably going to be something that will be there. It could have a lot to do with the technique I used. It's also something that just kind of happens, and that burr will get knocked off with use of the knife. That knife is definitely sharp at this point, and you could also hit this with like a leather that you might have, a leather strap that you might have to knock that burr off if you were worried about it. For the most part, this knife's sharp and ready to rock. For comparison's sake, I'm gonna score each of these knives on the best tester. What we're looking for here is a low score. That's the winner. So anything from 2 to 300 is really, really sharp. That's like factory edge, if not better. Anything in the 100 below range, we're talking double razor edge sharp. So let's see how this one scored on the original Precision Adjust. We got 207. Let's see if I can rotate that for the camera. That's really sharp. That's like a double-sided razor. I think the Precision Adjust Elite's gonna have its work cut out for it, but we'll see what that leather strap does to take it to the next level. All right, guys, switching gears here over to the Precision Adjust Elite. We're starting out with the 220 grit. As you can see, it's a little rougher than the 320 we had from the original, which is intentional. This is to be able to get in there and reprofile quickly. It took a lot less time to reach a burr with the 220 than the 320 that comes in the original, which makes sense. It's a more aggressive grit, gets the job done sooner, and you've got some deeper striations and pitting going on here, which is to be expected. Quickly moving on to the 320 grit, which is where we started with the original. We've removed some of that deep pitting from the 220, and you've kind of got a jagged edge going on here, which is, again, something I would expect after that 220 grit, which is pretty coarse. But the main thing I'm looking at here is, yeah, you can see some burr and some jagged edge, but we're starting to remove those deep pits from the 220 which is our goal because refinement will come later. Next up is the 400 grit, another grit you don't get in the original. This is another way to move through our refinement process, and you can already see the edge starting to come back into shape. We're getting less of those striations. So that refinement step, it's just a smaller step in between, but it does help, as you can see, remove some of those deeper pittings that we were seeing before. All right, next up was a 600 grit diamond. This is where we're really starting to see that edge come in to place. There's still some burr hanging off, but we're talking close to that factory edge all over again. I'd say even a little better than the factory edge at 600. So again, another chance to look at it under the microscope and know that where do you want to jump in on your knife? Do you want to jump all the way back and reprofile? If you don't need to go back that far, 600 might be the place to start on a factory edge that's not that dull. All right, the last of our diamond abrasives is the 800 grit. As you can see, it leaves a nice satin finish. Better than factory, and you could almost be done at this point if you wanted a nice toothy edge. There's a little bit of burr left, but it's barely noticeable. This is a good working edge. Can't wait to see how it looks after the ceramic. All right, now for the ceramic on the Elite. After hitting the 800, you can see it leaves a nice glassy finish. I was actually surprised at how many striations show up under magnification because this was a nice mirror look to the naked eye. But that just shows you how powerful these lenses are. The transition is really nice between the bevel as well here. It's nice and even, and there's barely any burr left. This I expect to be an extremely sharp knife and really pretty looking to the naked eye. Finishing up on the leather, as you can see, we really removed a lot of the striation and you're getting a little bit more of that shine. The biggest takeaway here is there's literally no burr left on this. We've removed that burr completely. You're starting to see some shine here, which is something you can transition a little bit further toward the tip and almost create a micro bevel with your leather. If you raise that a few degrees, you can get this shine a little bit further out here towards your edge if you want. I expect this will score really high in the best tester after that stropping. Let's check it out. Moment of truth here. Let's see how the leather strop takes the sharpness to the next level with the Elite system. Remember, low score wins. Whew. 109. So that's ridiculously sharp. Both these knives I would not be ashamed of in any way, shape, or form, but 109 is really saying something. Well, that's it, but there were a few key takeaways I want to cover before we get out of here. For me, the Elite system is less about creating a sharper knife because, as you can see, both result in a really sharp knife. But the difference comes down to creating the edge that I want to create on my knife. Having those extra abrasives lets me jump into the process at different points and create either a satin edge that I might want, a toothy edge, be able to reprofile quickly. That's where the real difference lies, is being able to create those profiles that I want on my knife. That's going to do it for this week, guys. Make sure to comment down below what questions you have. Is there anything that you think we missed? What other things do you want to see us use the magnification light for? It's a lot of fun to get in, look at these edges closer, and we want to know how you guys want to see us use it in the future.